thank you, Chair, and thank you for the organizers for inviting me to participate in this conference. And very good morning to all of you. So I will be presenting mainly on NCOR activities, mainly what we are doing in terms of science and what we plan to do. So this is the message I want to convey. At the same time, I also want to listen from others what is the geopolitics of these three poles. For this, we are basically supporting many institutions and universities in India, and also all the whatever scientific research we want to do in the polar regions, in cold climate, and also what are the platforms required for platforms and infrastructure required in the three poles, and including ocean platforms. What is our mainly support and do some of the research in India. And recently we also, maybe recently means last 5 years or so, we are also mainly some of the things are survey and exploration of non-living resources also we are undertaking. So NCOR is basically a trans-hemispheric organization. Basically we cover wide spectrum, both space and time, and actually from North Pole to South Pole. In North Pole we have a Himalaya-Arctic station, and in the tropics we have a Himans in Himalaya, and there are two Antarctic stations in Maitri and Himatri, and also we monitor Southern Ocean regions. So different regions in space is covered. Also we cover from time scale about in the atmospheric patterns in terms of hours, and we go to sediment core samples and other things to recover about climate history in terms of millions of years. And also we cover entire vertical spectrum, right from the surface to upper atmosphere as well as the sediment core, and we cover all branches of science and all three states of the matter. So first, before going to that, everybody asked why Antarctica, why we need to do research in Antarctica. So the first one is it is a global barometer. So any effect, any climate change is happening, the first place to feel or felt is the Antarctica, any polar regions. And also it is not only global barometer, it is also global thermometer. So if you monitor the global electric circuit or the electric field, you will be able to know that how the global thermometer or global temperature changes. And also it is a unparalleled laboratory and unique life forms in the extreme environment, how it is changing, or also it is what is the past history, its linkages with the India and Antarctica. We would like to know the history and the connectivity to proximity to Indian Ocean, and finally the geopolitical reasons. So the main point what we are trying to address is why these three poles lose ice mass, and how will this change in the future, and also what are the impacts of sea level rise in long term and the weather patterns in the short term. These are the Indian research station in Antarctica. Of course, the Dakshin Gangotri is buried under ice. Now we are presently two, the Maitri station and Bharati, we have a station in Antarctica. So what we do in Antarctica? So the first one is actually we are trying to ice and sediment core based climate reconstructions. So we want to understand the rhythm of Earth. If you want to do anything in future, we have to know the past. For that, we try to construct the climate history in the higher resolution by ice and the coarse resolution by sediment. We want to go millions of years, and also to establish the relation between the poles and tropics. So that is the important aspect. We want to establish the relation and to monitor the long-term climate change and anthropogenic activity on the lake system of the polar regions. And also you see that try to quantify how the glacier mass changes over the time in terms of identifying the elevations from the surface data sets. And also we are trying to map the upper ocean heat in the Southern Ocean using the Antarctic cruises, mainly how the heat changes is happening in the Southern Ocean. And of course assessment of the microbial diversity of glacial crocodiles and ice cores and permafrost and other things. And of course we need to continuously monitor how the environment is changing over the time. And finally in terms of to study the solar storms and other upper atmospheric parameters, we are continuously monitoring the magnetic and electric fluctuation stages. So these are the current projects that in Antarctica, what we are doing. Basically, these are the projects undertaken by NCOR, and also we facilitate under this 7th theme. We invite the proposals from all the institutions and universities to work towards to meet some of the under these themes. Some of different proposals are invited and facilitate to do research in Antarctica. And the scientific projects undertaken at NCOR is mainly the dynamics of ice rise and the shelves and reconstruction of past climate from ice core, polar biodiversity and evolution, long-term monitoring and modeling of precipitation, of course satellite-based and hydrodynamics of the Indian Ocean sector, and past history and ocean variability, past climate history and ocean variability, and some of the other data center, other related issues of polar regions. So, though we are working on many Antarctica different themes, different people are submitting the proposal and we facilitate them, but there is no focus so far, not much focus. So we try to focus. So what are the questions we want to address? So first we identified, maybe in the last year, some of the committee working group meeting identify what are the important questions we want to address from Antarctica, why we need to do. So some of the questions has come out, and it's also broadly comes under this horizon questions. So the prime objective is explore the polar regions by monitoring and predicting both observations and modeling aspects, the variability of the fragile global cryosphere system. Though we are monitoring, but we need to have a systematic monitoring, and that's what we are planning to do for establishing the next 2 years, systematic monitoring as well as the prediction in terms of some models and other things. So these are some of the questions, both in geology and geophysics, and some of the physics and the biology and the space weather. These are the different questions we plan to address. So how the Antarctic ice sheet has changed in the past, and what does tell about the future, and India-Antarctic connection, and how that has changed over the time, and reconstruction of past history from sediment and ice core, and teleconnection issues, ecosystem response in changing climate, and the roles of microbes in modulating carbon cycle, both in snow and water column, and how the sea ice variability changes and its importance and connectivity to tropics, and finally the space weather and its linkage to solar storms. So these are the different themes we are working on it. So under this theme, we invite every year some proposals and try to work together so that we can address some of the important questions. In the southern oceans, of course, our main focus is roles and response of southern ocean to regional and global climate variability. So mainly we undertake observational studies. So every year we start from Mauritius to up to Antarctica, and we try to observe physical, biological, and chemical oceanographic observations, and we try to understand the process, what is happening. And of course, there are many new insights and publications has come from this. But the main idea is now in the future, we looked at what are the gap areas in this. So the main gap areas is we are only measuring in the summer, and also we don't have any modeling or satellite tools we are using for inferring some of the things. So we are mainly going to address two things. How does the atmospheric and ocean dynamics in the polar regions, including southern oceans, affect the tropical weather and climate? For this, we have to understand how the physical process and atmospheric aerosols and other trace cases are modulated by biological pump and vice versa. So in different time scales, we try to understand the things. And in order to address these are the questions, we need to implement some of the in-situ observation system, automated system we need to augment and deploy, because only once in summer our crews may go, but other time we need to understand. So some of the observation system we have planned, and also we are heavily dependent on the satellite observations in the ocean, and also we need to initiate an effort, we have to put on modeling effort, because this is one of the important things which we have not worked on so far. So at the end of the maybe 3 years or 5 years, we should have our own sea ice model so that it can contribute to the India's Earth system model. So the second pole, I think, why in Arctic, mainly Arctic is a very important thing is it is having a short-term atmospheric bridge. That means whatever the heavy weather events or extreme weather events are happening in the tropics, it is always transported to poles, and in the longer time scale, that same poles, whatever the glacier melt is happening, that comes back to the Indian Ocean and other oceans. So we try to monitor these things, and basically if you know that in the poles, actually the Arctic is the signals of climate is changing. What is the thing is fast changing in the Arctic in terms of melting ice, and also if you see that warmest ocean, it is also Indian Oceans. So that is what the recent trends. So we need to understand what is this going on between this north and tropics. So in order to do that effort, presently we are doing the 4 themes: marine science, basically dynamics and functioning of Arctic fjords, and cryospheric studies, atmospheric science, and mass balance studies. So mainly our people go and do some of the experiments. More than 200 days our presence will be there in the New Svalbard, and about 50 scientists, they visit every year to Svalbard, and it goes in different batches. And these are the different team people goes over the past 4 years. And the main thing is glaciological studies and atmospheric telemeter, radiation profile, and microwave rain radar. This is continuously monitored in New and also the mooring. It has been deployed in the glacier fjord. So what is the feature? What we want to do in the Arctic? What is that? Same thing here also. Basically, the our main issues is teleconnections, and what are the mechanism of cloud formation and precipitation, because we have very good number of observations to understand these things. And the glacier melt, whether it is a local force or the remote force, we want to quantify how much due to local force and how much due to remote force, that we want to try to quantify. And we are also planning to improve our observation capabilities and also initiate the modeling effort in Arctic regions. So these are some of the detect the climate anomalies and proxy data to investigate past variability of polar climate and tropics, and mass balance and recharge from glaciers, modeling effort in the process studies, and also everywhere we want to involve the universities and the institutions for in a separate funding mechanism. And the third one is the Himalaya. Of course, this is a few years back it was started. The main objective is to study the dynamics and the rate of change of benchmark glaciers in Himalaya to understand its impact on hydrology and climate. So we have established a field station in Himalaya. It is about 4,000 meter high, and installed various instruments to monitor the hydrological studies and main mass energy balance, and also monitoring the glacial velocity and the thickness of glaciers. So what we want to do the near future? So basically we want to address the main important questions we want to address. Why there are differential glacier response across Himalaya, and what are the driving forces, and what are the dynamics and control of snow cover changes in Himalaya, and what is the response of Himalayan cryosphere climate change variability and associated hydrological impacts. Of course, we are planning to have a working group to work together, because we cannot ensure alone cannot do in one in the entire Himalaya. So we need to work with both already JNU and Wadia Institute and SaGHAA and IIT and other institutions. So we would like to address these are some of the important efforts. So apart from that, we are also, you know that the SaGHAA has come out with 80 scientific questions to be addressed globally. Out of that, some of the questions under the 6 themes. Under the 6 themes, we will be able to, we will be in a position to contribute in the first, second, and third, and fourth one. We will be trying to contribute almost in each one some of the important points about the teleconnection between high and lower latitudes, and solar wind disturbance in space and time, and how the Antarctic ice is changed in the past, all these things. So these are the things it is mainly outlined by SaGHAA, so we will be continue to contribute in this endeavor. And these are some of the tasks ahead in polar science. As I mentioned that we want to improve our Southern Ocean sea ice modeling, and also we want to set up the Arctic Ocean regional model, either in the ocean, we will start from the ocean, then maybe we can regional couple atmosphere model, and reconstruct high resolution past climate in quantitative terms. Most of the things we have done some qualitative and some number, we have to go for higher accuracy and quantitative way. and of course polar biodiversity, and understanding the variability of physical process of the ocean and sea ice itself in the coastal regions of Antarctica, and also some of the science projects with universities and institutions under this 4 theme, teleconnections, reveal past history, Himalayan geosphere and space weather. We want to separately put up this working group so that they work together to address these things. Of course, we have to strengthen our national and international collaboration in this endeavor. So in order to do this science, we need to have some infrastructure. So for that only, we have a construction of new Maitri station we have planned for 2-3 years, acquisition of polar research vessels, of course dedicated atmospheric lab with the ground station for Earth observation system, and real-time monitoring of atmospheric weather patterns, greenhouse gases and aerosol measurements. These are the things, all four places together to be measured continuously. Now we have made some intermittent observations. We want to have a continuous observation. So sitting here anywhere in the universities or lab, one can monitor these are the observations, what is going on. Also, we are planning to have a climate reference station in Antarctica, and also plan to deploy the coastal mooring. And we want to have satellite observation for cryosphere and southern ocean in the area. And also, we are planning to have Arctic observations apart from New Zealand, whether we can go for Greenland and Alaska in other areas also, because the whatever the impact is felt in the tropical regions, mainly in the heavy rainfall events, that heat has been transported in the Alaska region. So we want to study that particular effect also. So finally, the Polar Biology Lab and National Coastal Polar Center we want to establish. And of course, here also we want to strengthen our national and international collaboration. That's all I want to convey. Thank you.
Thank you.